Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs to society, all you sycophants, all you stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the president. You're always welcome here, and this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me as my co host is the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Right, Dr. Nasir Shaikh. Nasir, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Hey, Rick, thanks so much. It's great to be a part of it each and every single day. And you know what? Here we go. It's just another absolutely great day to be alive and well and free and living in the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world, bar none. You've got a symbol of that behind you, got a symbol of it behind here as well. Wearing the flag paraphernalia, wrapping around my neck and just rocking and rolling, raring to go here, Rick.
You know, Nasir, I about once or twice a month, I go to my mailbox and I am expecting, and it hasn't happened yet, but one of these days I'm expecting that you are going to send me a tie just like the one you're wearing.
Oh, okay.
Because you always talk about the tie, you talk about the flags behind us, the symbols of America. You talk about your tie. Mine's blue, but it's not like yours. It doesn't have the stars and stripes on it. But I gotta say, birthday, Christmas, one of these times I might get one of those flags. It's putting in a little message to Santa. A little message. Well, Nasir, what is on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Oh, there's so much stuff out there, but let's just talk about some of these administrative officials that are out there that, people elect them, and especially the ones, it seems, that are in blue states, these Democrats, they become megalomaniacs, Rick. Anything that they can do to start telling their citizens.
Bunch of over-officious jerks.
Absolutely.
They are on such a power trip, Nasir.
Oh, it's all about power, money, greed, what they can do, make the laws on you, the citizens, but they're going to be above it. I mean, recently, I had this on my Twitter account, and I urge people to go there and see it. And maybe I'll send you, we're going to link up and put up there. There is an administrative official that is out there on the tennis courts. She's flanked by a police officer and maybe the park ranger or whatever, who I think are just those, they have to stand there. So they're in masks. She's out there speaking. And she's talking about the proper way now in the post-Wuhan virus. Now, she didn't say Wuhan virus. She said COVID-19, but we're not going to say that. How you're supposed to play tennis. And basically, she's intimating that if you're going to play tennis, you can't touch your balls.
They're telling us how to play tennis now?
Yes, you can't touch your balls, Rick, on tennis. And she said, no, you can't do that. She said, you can't touch your tennis balls.
How do you play tennis then?
Well, that's the thing. She goes, well, only you can play with your own balls. You can't play with anybody else's balls. And here's the other thing she said. If you can't do that, she goes, don't touch them, but you can kick your balls or kick somebody else's balls. And she's talking, and these two guys are laughing like crazy. And then she goes, I think I'm going to blush because she realized that she wasn't using the word tennis in front of balls or whatever. But this is the stupidity, it's just the idiocy.
Whoa, this is a family show, Nasir.
Well, we're saying about tennis. But I mean, this is like, you know what? Pretty soon, you wouldn't even be able to play golf. I mean, this is the stupidity that we're talking about. Now, guess what happened? In the state of Oregon, in Salem, a county judge declared that Kate Brown's coronavirus restrictions are null and void. You know why? Because she said she didn't get her emergency powers because they weren't approved by the legislature. These guys are putting this stuff out there, and they're expecting the United States citizens, those in flyover country, country class Americans, to abide by these Nazi-like restrictions. And you know what's happening? People are going out on the streets or going to their jobs. Look, Elon Musk, who I'm no fan of, basically made Alameda County blink by saying, guess what? We're opening up the Tesla plants there, and if you don't allow me to open it, I may decide just to move it somewhere else. And guess what?
Well, I think
Alameda County blinked.
well, I think that there are going to be a lot of businesses, or businesses should reevaluate how they've been treated by their governors. You know, one
Absolutely.
thing, Nasser, I'm afraid that 40% of these jobs, of these businesses, are not going to come back. And we are in a depression, Nasser.
We are.
This is a self induced depression, and it's for no reason. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on television. I talk to you. You're a doctor. I talk to other doctors. I get conflicting opinions. But Nasser, each and every year we go through a virus season. Okay? Last year, and I repeat this again, last year 43 million people got the virus. 61,000 died. That's not as bad as the year before when 49 million people got the virus. 78,000 died. No business was shut down. Nobody was out of work. No schools were closed. The difference between those years and these years is, in my opinion, not the Chinese virus, but it's a presidential election year. And the people on the left and their cohorts in the media are doing everything and will do everything to destroy Donald Trump. But in doing so, they are destroying this country. They have created a depression. And I say again, and I'll say it as long as I need to, it took 16 years and a
That's right.
world war to get over the last Great Depression. I hope we're not faced with the same thing. But, you know, there's no magic formula, Nasser, to get us out of this. The trillions that the government has borrowed for stimulus programs, that just get heaped on to the trillions that we are already in debt. What generation's going to pay down that debt, Nasser? I have no idea. I don't have no idea how you pay down that debt. It's like these public officials, these tax raising idiots in every town, every county, every state, all they can think about right now is, oh, our coffers are drained. We got to raise taxes. So you got those tax increases. I mean, this is just a vicious cycle. And what was it for? It's all to drive Donald Trump out of office.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just like we know, look, California has had almost less than 2,000 deaths due to coronavirus,
Yep.
and it's got how many? What, somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 50 million people in California.
Yep.
And what did the mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles basically say? Added 3 more months to the lockdown, and then Governor Newsom comes out basically and says we may be here for another year until a vaccine comes out. I mean, we're talking New York City, New York, California, where, like it said, 40 to 50% of the deaths in America have come from the New York, New Jersey area.
Now, so you mentioned Oregon. Do you know how many deaths in Oregon because of the Chinese virus?
Not offhand. I'd
I
say less.
do.
I'd say
No,
less than 100.
125. So the governor of Oregon, for instance, and
Yes,
she's not alone, has shut down the state because 125 people have died from the coronavirus. I mean, I know every life is important, Nasser,
absolutely.
but I would think in each and every flu season, that
Yes.
many number of people will have died. So they've destroyed the economy
Oh yeah.
of,
You know what I'd like
of
to know? You just gave that number. I wonder what the number of deaths were in the last 3 or 4 years each year of just flu deaths in the state of
oh,
Oregon.
wait a minute. Let me write this down. I have to go up and see if I can find that.
I
Uh,
mean, while you're
okay,
looking
during
at that,
that time, deaths from all categories in
yes,
Oregon. I can give you that statistic. 10,000. Let me just check something. Okay, deaths from all causes in Oregon during this time. Okay, let me go back down to Oregon. 10,399 deaths from other causes.
see that
People
that's
die every day,
every
Nasser.
day they do.
So you've had 125 people die from the Chinese flu, but from all other reasons, 10,399 people have died in Oregon. Oh, with those, why ever open the
Why we
state
have,
of Oregon? Why ever,
yeah,
everybody stay locked in your house, never go out for any reason? Because guess what? People
you're
are
gonna
going to die.
die.
Nasser, let's take a break. This is maddening. This is so maddening. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And guess what? Today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Nasser and I will be right back. And
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. But when I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh. And the hallmark of our show is terrific guests and information. And if you'd like to recommend somebody to have as a guest here on Conservative Commandos, it is easy to do. Just drop an email to me. My personal email address is auntv@yahoo.com. auntv@yahoo.com. Drop me a line, drop me an email, suggest the guest. Maybe you yourself would like to be a guest here on Conservative Commandos. So, Nasir, who will we be speaking with today?
Well, our first guest is going to be a returning guest. His name is Paul Driessen. He's a senior policy advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. And Paul's going to be talking to us about the Real Climate Science Deniers, an article that he wrote. Our second guest is going to be Robert Charles. He's a spokesperson for AMAC. He was also the former Assistant Secretary of State. And he's going to be talking to us about his article, two of them actually. One is China Fleeces the Poor, A Time for Accountability. And the second article is going to be talking about what was going on in the Obama administration just before the inaugurations. And he basically has some great links inside there, great information on that. So that's going to be a great interview. And we finally are going to be speaking with Dr. David Samadi. He's the director of the Men's Health and Urologic Oncology Department at the St. Francis Hospital in Long Island. And Dr. Samadi is going to be talking to us about his article, actually what he was in terms of his thinking and reasoning of the COVID response, talking about the different phases, what we need to do, and also about the news that we've been hearing that Donald Trump now is on the regimen of hydroxychloroquine and zinc. So we got three great guests coming up here. Absolutely.
God bless the president. God bless the president, and let's keep him healthy. So now, sir, it's hard to talk about anything other than this Chinese flu and also how government officials have reacted to it. And let's talk about that Bill de Blasio, the communist from New York City.
Oh, Comrade de Blasio. Well, he just basically warned people that if it wasn't so, if these stories weren't out there, you'd think that somebody was putting a meme up there or whatever. But he basically is saying they're warning, and this has happened there, and it's happened other places. There was a rule out there, Rick. I forget what state it was, but it said it didn't matter. I think it said Louisiana or someplace. They said it didn't matter how large your boat was. You could only have two people on the boat, and they have to be related. So you could have a 40-foot yacht, but you would only have to have two people, and that's it.
What about a family? A mother, a father, the kids?
No, only two. Only two. Didn't matter. A dinghy or a yacht. They didn't do. Then I think this was down in Florida. There was some place in Florida saying if you went there and you were in dry sand, you would be arrested. But if you were walking in wet sand or laying in wet sand, you'd be fine. But you couldn't be in dry sand.
Here's one in the state of New Jersey. That idiot governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Oh, that moron.
All right. He said he's going to open the beaches for Memorial Day, but there are rules. No swimming. No swimming, Nasir. Listen. No swimming, but surfing is allowed. No swimming, but surfing is allowed, Nasir.
These guys are, it's just moronic. It just really is.
Did you ever go surfing, Nasir?
No,
You've seen people surf,
I've
right?
seen people surf, absolutely.
Well, they get on the board and they paddle out to a wave. Well, you're allowed to do that, okay? But you're not allowed to swim. So I guess if you fall off the board and swim in, they're going to be waiting on the beach to arrest you.
Hey,
okay?
On those nude beaches, do they still have to wear masks?
Well, they should wear clothes.
But can you imagine these cops chasing these people into the water? I can't wait to see the video pictures that come out of that.
Also, there's another rule. I'm not sure which beach this is. California. I heard our friend Joe Messina talk about this on his radio show. In California, you're allowed on the beach. You must stand 6 feet apart. You can't sit down. Wait a minute. No, Nasir. Listen. Stop laughing. Nasir, you got to stop laughing because it becomes more absurd. You must stand 6 feet apart. You cannot sit down. You cannot lay on the beach. You have to stand on the beach.
Or walk around.
6 foot apart. You must stand on the beach. You can't sit down. You can't lay down.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the beaches of California. These are the stupid officials that people vote in.
And these are what? Yeah.
These are the stupid people who other stupid people listen to.
And then there's a story of the Atlanta mayor, Keisha Lance. She admits now that reopening, not as bad as I thought it would be. Remember the stuff that was coming out of Georgia and Atlanta from
Oh,
Stacey Abrams
oh
saying
yeah.
that this is a death moratorium being
Mhm.
issued, but he wants to basically kill everybody in the blue states by opening them up. I mean, this is unbelievable here.
And Georgia is not a blue state, by the way.
No,
You know,
red.
so I
But
don't
I
know
mean,
what that's about.
but I mean, that's what I'm talking about. This lady thinks she's going to be the vice presidential pick or whatever. Brian Williams, remember him, the liar Brian? He said, Mayor, I remember when we were talking to you prior to your quote unquote reopening of Georgia, you basically said, in fact, you were wrong to say to the governor, I was wrong. And you were saying that, I'm going to be right, that this is going to be terrible. Well, she basically answered, said, what can I say? It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm pleased about that. But I think it's too soon to say. These people, they're never going to do anything, Rick. We know that. What do we expect from these idiots?
More of the same of what
More
we're
of the
seeing
same.
here.
More of the
But
same.
I really hope, sir, I hope and pray that the voter out there has a long memory of which governor put them out of work, which
Yes.
governor caused them to lose their jobs. Governors like Murphy and Newsom, Cuomo. I mean, I hope the people out there have a very long memory of who destroyed their lives. And Nasser, I would say there are probably more people whose lives are being destroyed by this quarantine than by the Chinese flu itself. Alcoholism, drug abuse is rampant
Absolutely.
because people are out of work. They've got financial problems. They got family problems. So what do? They turn to alcohol and
Yes.
drugs. They're out of work.
No,
What can they do?
you're absolutely right. And Rick, here's what we have to hope. Look, we talked about every life lost, regardless of how it is, okay, I mean, we don't want that to happen to anybody. We don't want anyone to lose their job. We don't want anyone to lose their business. But you know what you said it's going to take? We already know the people that are Republicans that had jobs, the Republicans that started businesses. We already know how they voted, most of them. I'm just wondering about the other side. What about those Democrats, okay, that lost jobs, and those Democrats, okay, that lost businesses? Are they going to wake up now and sort of smell the COVID coffee, so to speak, and then decide for themselves and say, you know what? We were wrong about that before, okay? These guys didn't have our best interests at heart.
No.
They're the ones that need to change.
Yes.
They're the ones, okay?
They're never going to change.
Well, hopefully
we need to change them. Kick
But
them
hopefully
out. Gone. History out of here. Well, Nasser, let's do our next break and get our first guest on. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Right, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with our friend Paul Driessen. He is a senior policy advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFAC, talking about the real climate science deniers. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest of the day. Okay, buddy.
All right.
Did you want to do another half hour or what?
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our show, check out that website of ours, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Nasir, we have another longtime friend of the show, and it's your opportunity to make him feel welcome.
Thank you, Rick. We have Paul Driessen. He's a senior policy advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT. He's author of many articles and books on energy, the environment, and human rights issues. So we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Paul.
Always my pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
Well, great. Well, let's talk about this article. This is always in the news, and it's something that we conservatives are constantly, fighting against because we keep getting labeled as science deniers. But your article is The Real Climate Science Deniers. Man-made climate crisis promoters reject inconvenient evidence of the natural climate change. So I talk about these people as the fascists who are part of the Church of Climatology. And, you basically start out your article saying that, when you were back in high school or college, you helped organize, Earth Day 1. How is that different than what these are, I guess, our that our children and grandchildren are doing now when they do Earth Day 1.
Yeah, well, the way I always saw it is back in 1970, Earth Day 1, we had real serious pollution problems here in the United States and around the world, but it's very much here in the USA. And this was a USA-centered Earth Day. We had the Cuyahoga River catching on fire because there were so many inflammables floating around on the surface. We had pollution, extreme pollution coming out of our paper mills in Wisconsin, where I grew up, right down within eyesight of where my family home is. All kinds of smokestack problems. Pittsburgh is famous for it.
Mm-hmm.
Blackness on all the buildings because of the coal that was burned, because it was burned without any kind of pollution controls on it. No pollution controls on the effluents coming out of the paper mills, the cars. Things cleaned up because we started this movement. And cars now emit about 3% of the pollutants that they put out of their tailpipes in 1970. So a 97% cleanup. Same thing with our coal-fired power plants, all our various factories and our paper mills, on and on and on. And today, what I see out there is a lot of screaming about things that I don't think are real legitimate problems. Sure, we're having climate change. We've had climate change since Earth began. All of a sudden, it's not just climate change, it's man-made. And it's not just climate change, it's dangerous, catastrophic man-made climate change. I don't see it. The evidence just isn't there. When you look at hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, you name it, you've got climate changing in little fluctuations, extreme weather events that become more dominant, more pronounced, more frequent, and then they die off for a while. Arctic melting and freezing, same thing, same in Antarctica. But I certainly don't see anything catastrophic, and certainly not as catastrophic as all those assorted ice ages, including the last one in the Pleistocene, that brought glaciers 1 to 2 miles high down across half of North America, Asia, and Europe. 2 miles high almost. And right over the parts of Wisconsin where I grew up, I've actually dug up a rock I can grab in a minute that shows scratches made by the last glacier that came over right where my house is in Wisconsin. It's over the limestone that is part of the Niagara Formation. And it's the Niagara Formation because it's the same limestone that exists at Niagara Falls. It comes all the way across North America and then goes south from the Green Bay area into Indiana. It's the limestone that Indiana University is built from, and it's from a coral reef that existed where we've got dry land now. So climate change is real. It's always been real. It's not man-made, human-driven, fossil fuel-driven, and I see nothing that suggests it's going to be catastrophic.
You're right, Paul. And here's what they do. And see, this is where the left, I call the alt-left, that left-stream media, even the Democratic State Party controlled media, this is where they really are, differ from us on the conservative or on the right side. And that is, they actually use the doom and gloom tactics very, very effectively. They're very able to use, to conflate climate change and what you're talking about, pollution, and sort of, meld those together so that the uninformed voter, the person's out there, sort of gets the idea from this constant barrage that Republicans, conservatives, they hate the environment. They don't care if your water's polluted. They don't care if your children are sucking up smoke or whatever. And that's not the actual truth. And we have to sort of, like you say, take that conflation and rip it apart and say, look, we're all for cleaning up the environment, just like the facts that you talked about, cleaning everything up, the emission standards and all that. So we have a healthy quality of life issue here. But then the other stuff, the doom and gloom, like, Chuck Schumer and the others, when they were asked a question, COVID-19, the Wuhan virus, what's more detrimental to society, that or climate change? I haven't heard a single one on the other side, say, you know what, right now it's COVID-19. They all go back and say, oh, you know what? climate change, that's still the number one existential threat, okay, to human life forms or whatever. And some people are even blaming climate change for COVID-19.
Yeah, and they're going even further than that. They're saying, well, we show that we've really dropped the carbon dioxide emissions during this COVID pandemic response of locking down, so we can do this. And basically what they're saying is we should have a lockdown forever. We should never open our businesses again. We should never go back to work. We should never drive our cars. We should just stay locked in our homes. But the other thing that you're driving at, the fact is, what we're finding in our water sometimes can be pretty bad, like in Detroit with some of the lead and so forth and some of the other pollutants. But a lot of times what we're talking about is this notion that if you can detect a chemical, it's dangerous, it's catastrophic, people are going to die. And that is nonsense, because a few years ago, you could detect parts per thousand, then parts per million. Now we can detect parts per billion and parts per trillion. Here's an example of what we're talking about. 5 parts per billion is equivalent to 5 seconds in 32 years.
Wow.
5 parts per trillion is like 5 seconds in 32,000 years. The idea that something that is barely detectable is an imminent risk to the health and well-being and the lifespans of Americans is just nonsense. But this is the stuff they peddle. They get away with it because of the mainstream media and because of social media, all pushing one narrative, but blocking other points of view, like they're doing on COVID. Twitter and others are shutting down anything that deviates from what they consider to be the mainstream science about the COVID pandemic. And there's a lot of other very informed opinions out there that we should be thinking about and listening to when it comes to COVID as well.
Paul, we've got to coming into a hard break here, but could you stay with us for another segment?
Sure. Happy.
Great. Well, we were listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, and AM/FM 24/7, and also on the AUN TV network in California. We're here with our guest, Paul Driessen, speaking to you about climate change deniers. And we've got, he's holding something up there. But we're going to go into a break, and we'll be back for a second segment with Paul Driessen. So stay with us, folks.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for rebroadcast of our show, or maybe you want to share it with a friend, place to go is our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. Our guest this segment is Paul Driessen. He's a senior policy advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. He's the author of books and articles on energy, environment, and human rights. Paul, thank you for holding through that break. And I know you've got something there that you held up. I believe it's that you were talking about from your home in Wisconsin. Would you hold them up again, please?
Well, we'll do one at a time. This first one is a rock piece of limestone from right around Green Bay, Wisconsin. It shows scratches that were formed by pieces of rock and stone being dragged on the bottom of the glacier right across the Niagara limestone formation. So you can see what was there roughly 10,000 years ago and left this imprint behind. This is a whale vertebra from the Chesapeake Bay, Virginia. Back in the day, 12,000 years ago, when the Chesapeake was teeming with whales and Carcharodon, megalodon sharks. Those are the sharks that had teeth just about the size of this whale vertebra. And if you go to the Museum of Natural History in Washington, you can see a reconstructed jaw of one of these monster sharks with 4 people sitting inside the jaw. That's how big these things were. They could swallow 4 people at a time, or a Volkswagen bug full of people probably too.
Well, I guess it was those whales flagellating that caused all that ice to melt at that time, Paul. You know, they're saying it's cows flagellating today that's contributing to climate change and global warming. But, Paul, we see this. A while back, I saw a documentary on the peopling of the Americas, North and South America. And it's speculated that they came across a land bridge connecting Asia to North America, which is now the Aleutian chain. But at the time, there was a land bridge. That area was out of water. And they speculate that's what people crossed about 13,000 years ago. And they'll use that information, Paul, but they won't use the information. Well, why was that dry land at that time? And oh, by the way, the same network, and I'm talking about this Smithsonian Channel, will then have another program about all the climate change that's being created by mankind. I agree with you when you talk about the ice ages and the the ice sheet being 1 to 2 miles thick, covering North America all the way down to Princeton, New Jersey. And I got into a debate with a young college student the other night on Facebook, and I asked him, what happened to all that ice at the end of the last ice age? It ended about 12,000 years ago. Where did it all go? What were those people driving? How were they heating their homes that melted all that ice at the time? And this young man was saying that he was going to college for meteorology and he knew all the answers. I said, please explain the ice ages. And they can't. But Paul, they keep spewing this garbage information.
Yeah, they do.
Why are we losing the argument to these kids?
It's crazy, isn't it? Let me go to your comment about a land bridge. I don't think there was a land bridge. I think you're talking about something a whole lot more than a little narrow bridge.
Oh, no.
When those glaciers were across northern hemisphere, oceans, they pulled so much water out of the oceans to make those glaciers that the oceans worldwide were 400 feet lower than they are today. 400 feet. So you just imagine, go up to the Alaska area, all along the coast here between Alaska and Asia, Russia, Siberia. You're talking about a whole lot more than a little narrow 2-lane bridge or something like that. You're probably talking about those continents being one big slab of land for hundreds and hundreds of miles. So much that water is not 500, 600 feet deep in many of those places. It's less than 400 feet deep. So that was all dry land.
Mm-hmm.
And when it melted, starting around 12,000 years ago, that's when the seas started rising again, which means they've risen 400 feet. The continuation since the Little Ice Age is just more natural sea level rise, but also compounded by land subsidence along a lot of our coastal areas. And we could get into land subsidence and talk about 20 minutes just about that. But that's also a component of this. Somebody who's studying meteorology better be studying more than carbon dioxide is responsible for everything. Otherwise, they're not going to get one weather forecast or extreme weather event correct. They will be wrong every time.
Paul, it's garbage in, it's garbage out. That's what these kids are being taught. That's what the professors in colleges are teaching. Paul, in your article, you talked about the highest ever temperatures are a mere few tenths or even hundredths of a degree above the previous records that were set many decades ago. I also do believe, Paul, the instrumentation that we're using today to measure temperatures is probably very different than the instrumentation they used 150 years ago. Also, the location of the temperature gauges, the thermometers, I think may have a bearing on things like, gee, is it warmer today than it was a year ago today or 100 years ago today? Again, it's garbage in, garbage out. If the instrumentation is different, if where they place the instrumentation is different, well, you're going to get different results, correct?
Yeah, well, it goes even more than that, because only since 1979 have we had satellites up there measuring temperatures around the planet. So only since 1979 do we have what you can call pretty reasonably accurate global data. Before that, it was all land-based temperatures, and that's still what a lot of these climate alarmists rely on, is the land-based temperatures. Now, here you've got 25% of the planet being land, and only maybe a third of that, a quarter of that, actually has enough temperature gauges, thermometers, to be able to give you a reasonable approximation of what the temperature is. The rest of the land doesn't have any measurements at all. So they're just estimating, well, if we have this thermometer in Moscow, then in the middle of Siberia, we can estimate that this is what the temperature is in the middle of Siberia at the same moment. That's garbage. You cannot estimate across such land areas. You look right here in the Washington, D.C. area, or where you guys are, at the weather maps every night, the urban area is going to be 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer than the temperature 5-10 miles away when you get out into the rural areas. And that's going to be the same during the, especially during the winter when you're putting out a lot of heat, or during the summer when the air conditioners are exhaling heat from the buildings to keep the buildings cool. So to make these comments that based on a few scattered land measurement stations, many of which are close to airports or in cities, and they're contaminated by that urban heat island effect, that you can then extrapolate to the rest of the planet is complete nonsense. So that also factors into this. And there's a lot of other problems with the temperature data. But the point is, how can anybody claim that if temperatures rise 1 or 2 or 3 degrees above what they were in 1850, when the Little Ice Age ended and conveniently the real industrial era began again, the modern industrial era with coal and oil and gas, that a 1 or 2 or 3, 4 degree rise from those little ice age temperatures is going to be catastrophic. It's going to be great for the planet. What would be terrible for the planet is if we had a 2, 3, 4, 5 degree drop in temperatures, and especially if that were combined with a loss of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Agricultural yields around the world would just plummet. Growing seasons would be shorter. We'd have far less arable land with less carbon dioxide. Fewer plants would grow well. It would be a disaster for humanity and for wildlife.
Well, I'll tell you, I totally agree with you, Paul. And Paul, I wanted to thank you for writing this latest article, because I'm going to send it to that future meteorologist, that college student that I had a debate with the other night. And please explain these, because we didn't even scratch the surface in your article. You have a lot of great information, a lot of facts, and a lot of proof that shows how the evolution of the planet with the evolution of the planet, also the evolutionary changes in climate. But Paul Driessen, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and read your articles.
Thanks. It's been my pleasure being with you. You can go to townhall.com. I'm under the columnists. You find hundreds of my articles there. cfact.org, cfact.org. I have published many there. And What's Up With That? WATTS, up with that.com. That's Anthony Watts' terrific, best visited climate change website, the best one in the world probably. And my pieces are there, and so are a lot of other excellent articles by other people. Thanks for having me on.
Well, Paul Driessen, it's always our pleasure. Great talking with you. I could just sit and listen to your voice.
Thank you.
Paul, take care and God bless.
Thanks.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have Robert Charles join us. He's a spokesman for AMAC, as well as the former Assistant Secretary of State. He has written an article, China Fleeces the Poor, Time for Accountability. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. And as you know, this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our show or see a rebroadcast or possibly share it with a friend, check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. We have rebroadcasts of our radio show as well as our television show posted there. And Nasir, we do have our next guest with us, and as you do with all our guests, please make him feel welcome.
It'll be a pleasure, Rick. We have Robert Charles, who's a spokesperson for the Association of Mature American Citizens. He was also the former Assistant Secretary of State. He served in Ronald Reagan's administration, as well as President Bush's 41 White Houses. He was also the counsel to the U.S. National Security Subcommittee for 5 years, and he also ran for 5 years a joint committee which investigated the Waco situation. Robert, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Privileged to be with you.
Well, thank you. I want to talk to you about one of your articles, which is China Fleeces the Poor and Time for Accountability. But before we get that, something that was in your bio, you were basically saying how seniors will have a disproportionately large impact on the 2020 election, what that means in terms of Trump's chances. So if you could spend a few minutes on why that, why you think that is so.
So excellent question, and I think something people don't focus on, although I'm sure the campaigns are going to focus on it. I am the representative spokesman for AMAC, which represents more than 2.1 million Americans who are of a conservative persuasion over the age of 50. I suspect there are millions more that should be members and maybe one day will be. But the gist of it is that 35% of the voting population in this country in the last election was over the age of 50, and actually 25% was over the age of 65. Those people, if you look at the Pew studies and a lot of the other surveys, they tend to be more conservative in their thinking. And that's because I think in many ways they've lived through life. They've seen everybody from Ronald Reagan to many of them actually farther back than that. Why it's important to uphold the principles of the country and the founding fathers' point of view. And also, I think, why the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and maybe the Fourth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and the 10th Amendment to our Bill of Rights actually, to our Constitution, really matter. And so I think the grand scheme of things, I think it is any candidate would ignore the older Americans at their peril. So again, it's my great privilege. I worked for Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush, as you said, and also for Colin Powell, and I think it's a privilege to work for AMAC.
Well, we certainly thank you for that. Now, getting to your article, you know, this is the stuff that we want to basically impart, you know, to our children, to our youngsters, but also to adults too, that what is happening around the world geopolitically, and not just, you know, happening basically in our own backyards, but this thing, you know, people were talking about, you know, Russia, how dangerous Russia was going to be to us. But I've always felt, and when I've talked to friends from Africa, from Pakistan, from others in Southeast Asia, they always talk about the insidious nature of what's going on with China entering into their countries. And then they hear these stories about what's happening with their, you know, family members, or if their family members have a business, and how they're getting these loans from China, even at the small business level. But then they're saying the insidious nature of what China is doing in terms of then basically being a modern day, you know, loan shark. So your article goes into that, and you basically say they're borrowing from Peter to fleece Paul. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable how they're taking money from the IMF and these lending institutions, re-lending it to these people at high interest costs. When they can't pay it back, they go back basically and foreclose on whatever it is they need and then encroach upon those countries. Please.
Yeah, so you truly have raised three, I think, significant points worth rolling out a little bit or unpacking. The first is a great historical analogy that you make, that Ronald Reagan, in many ways, called out the Soviet Union, and he made it crystal clear that we don't converge with institutions which repress human rights. We are not going to forgive. We're going to guide them to the right way, and we're going to support their people should they want to seek freedom, which they did. So in the grand scheme of things, Ronald Reagan was sort of a speaker of truth about the Soviet Union. And in many ways, President Trump and others are speakers of truth now about China. And I would actually go so far as to say, because of their insidious nature, that's a great word for how they operate, they are more dangerous in some ways to us now than the Soviet Union was back then. The Soviet Union had ICBMs, but China is exercising a kind of economic power as well as military power that we allowed them. We conditioned them to take advantage of us, but and now we're sort of stopping that, and we're calling them back. The second big thing I'll note is that one of the things that's occurred just in the most recent days is the recognition through this coronavirus, not only that they don't speak the truth about issues tied to public health, but that in all due deference, we are overly reliant on this communist country that shares none of our values. I mean, in all fairness, we have 80 to 90% of our antibiotics come from China, 95% of our ibuprofen, 70% of our acetaminophen. We have, I think, 40% of our heparin and 40% of our penicillin. So we need to kind of put a great big timeout sign up and say, I think we need to stop this overdependence on a communist country that can hold us, and they did, in fact, have begun to hold us hostage in a way. The last point you make is their really usurious behavior on the world stage, and that is really worth laying out. I'll start with the fact that, you know, this whole coronavirus issue has highlighted to a lot of Americans who I think were kind of asleep at the switch, and maybe more of us were than should have been, that this is a country that does not speak the truth, that actually intimidated the WHO into excusing their behavior. Whether it was a mistake or it had intent, it was probably more reckless than intentional. But the bottom line is, it looks like, from all the evidence that's publicly available, that this virus came from the Wuhan Virology Institute. They don't eat bats, by the way, in that part of the country. So it probably wasn't the wet market, even if it showed up there later. And I think that all of that vectors to the idea that they learned about this virus very early and they did not share it with the world. And as a result, trillions of dollars worth of damage, not to mention loss of life, has come from that. I think it's absolutely ironic that our mainstream media, after watching the impact of trillions of dollars of damage globally, can do a big story in the last couple of days announcing that China has announced that it will give $2 billion to an effort to resolve the crisis. Well, $2 billion after trillions is really nothing. It's a public relations gambit that we ought to ignore. And then you go to these other hard-hitting issues. They misused the WTO. They're big currency manipulators. Everybody knows that, but nobody says it. They've put They've tested space-based weapons, which is against all the treaties in space. They have obviously developed the South China Sea in a way that was against international law. They've militarized these artificial islands. They're actually, thank God, President Trump just in the last week said we will not allow our thrift savings accounts, in which a lot of veterans invest, and our money is invested. We will not allow that any longer to be invested in these Chinese companies. The next big issue, of course, is that all these Chinese companies have access to our capital markets. They trade on the stock exchange, but they don't have to live by Oxley-Sarbanes. So why is that? The final point you raise, and that to me is the most riveting, is that China has taken out $200 billion worth of loans as a developing country. And they have taken those loans and now lent that money back out to more than 60 countries, and have charged these enormous interest rates. And the rest of the G20, who are doing normal lending, have said we suspend all interest for the remainder of the year because of the coronavirus. China continues to collect that interest. And of course, the opportunity cost of having taken that money at low interest and then sent it back out to profit from it at high interest is that the World Bank now does not have that money to lend. And who's the biggest shareholder in the World Bank? The United States.
Wow.
So in retro, see, this is the whole part of the geopolitical game that's out there. And is there any way that we can rein in China? And I don't know if that's possible. I'd like to hear your things, but
I think
look at what they're doing with the NBA. I mean, look at with Nike, with all these companies that are out there. I mean, to have these players and to actually take the side of China first. I mean, look at the Hong Kong disturbances, what was going on over there. And people are in America that say, oh, maybe, our First Amendment, it's not really 100%. There are nuances to it.
No, so let's come back to solutions. I think you have to start with basics. And so let's start with basics. Our Bill of Rights, which provide free speech and freedom of travel and freedom of worship, and in the Second Amendment, freedom to keep and bear arms. In the Fourth Amendment, to be free of illegal, unreasonable search and seizure, and fair trial in the Sixth, and states' rights and individual rights in the 10th that are not enumerated in the federal government. All of that is really a codification of natural law. And what happened back in the day is that James Madison and our founding fathers in that era distilled about 60 amendments, which in various ways describe natural law, down to 10, and put them in. And now we have, of course, other amendments that validate other human rights. So let's step back 2 paces. These human rights are global. They are not, they're God-given. They're not about whether a government gave you the right. So if that's true, then we have an obligation, I think, globally, to reinforce the idea that if people want to speak freely, if they want to be self-governing, if they want to be a part of a country that honors their own rights individually, then we need to support them. Hong Kong, incidentally, just in this coronavirus period, has had a lot of its leaders of that movement arrested by China. Now, it's not hitting the front pages of the big papers because they're not paying attention to it. But China is using this opportunity even now to suppress those rights. And as you probably know, Christians and Muslims and every religious group in China is really persecuted. Many of them are put into retraining camps. It's really outrageous. So we have all we've kind of looked away from this problem for a long time. And why? Because we said, well, 2 things animated us. One was we said, well, if we give them the freedom to run economically, maybe that economic freedom will bleed over into political freedom. Well, we saw after Tiananmen that really wasn't so. Unfortunately, political freedom has to be caught and fought for itself on its own terms. And the second thing is we thought, well, if we can get 10 cents off at this little thing down the street, then it'll be worth us selling our self-reliance and selling our freedom. Well, we've learned that isn't true either. So I think a real moment of truth is upon us. And I think as Americans, we owe it to not only ourselves, but to future generations to say enough is enough. Edmund Burke once said, all it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing. And I think we have to be good people who don't do nothing.
You're right. We're here speaking with Robert Charles, who was a former Assistant Secretary of State in the Reagan and the Bush years. Mr. Charles, we'd like to hold you on for another segment, but we've got to take care of some business. Would you stay for us?
Of course.
Thank you so much. And we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world here on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM/FM 24/7, and also now on the AUN TV network in California. And we're going to take us into a break. Please stay with us as we come back with our guest, Mr. Robert Charles.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And I want to give a shout out to folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and as well as on the AUN television network in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, San Rafael, all the way up to Redding, California. Our guest this segment is Robert Charles. He's a spokesman for AMAC, as well as the former Assistant Secretary of State during the Reagan and Bush 41 White House years. Robert, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate the time.
So just a quick correction. I was an Assistant Secretary of State with Colin Powell under George W. Bush, but worked in the Reagan and Bush 41 White Houses, just for clarity.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for writing this article. When we invited you on today, I called you earlier in the day to reconfirm our interview, and you asked me a question. And I didn't quite understand the magnitude of that question till I read your article. Fire builds under Obama leads to hard questions. And you write in your article, three odd things happened this week. For those who believe in government accountability, they matter. Could you go down this list of three things and talk about the importance of them and how they all seem to center around one Barack Obama?
Yeah, I think that, if I can take a big wide angle lens to answer
Absolutely.
your question, it really is, we're at a remarkable moment in American history. And it's a moment of unique import because we are being asked as American citizens to keep our republic a republic. We are being asked to keep our leaders accountable. And I think while we've gone through lots of nonsense in the last 3 years, everything from the Russia collusion effort to an impeachment that really violated the principles of due process, we're at a different point right now. And the reason I wrote that piece is because it swept over me. One of the things that happened in this last week is that more than 39 requests to unmask Americans, that is to say, to violate the Fourth Amendment rights of an American by unmasking a phone call between that American and some foreign party or a link to that call, were made between November 8. We just learned this. This was just declassified by the Director of National Intelligence and released to the public by Senator Grassley and I think one other senator. And what did we learn? We learned that 39 times between November 8, 2016, so a couple days after the election, and January 12th, 2017, 8 days before the inauguration, there was a frantic effort on the part of senior Obama administration officials, right up to and including on January 12th, the vice president himself, Biden. All the way up through that period of time, there was this frantic effort by John Brennan, head of the CIA, by two former chiefs of staff, by one cabinet member, all to get their hands on whatever they could get their hands on that would relate to the Trump campaign, and in particular to Mr. Flynn. So one of the things that really swept over me was the question, why? Why, with all the time that had previously passed, why, with this extraordinary sense of urgency, were they frantically seeking all of this information? Well, you can say they wanted to go after General Flynn. And I guess that's an acceptable answer, but it doesn't explain urgency, and it doesn't explain why literally almost 30 people, including the UN representative, including the then National Security Advisor, all these people seeking this information on the Trump campaign. The second thing you could say is, well, they suspected the Russia connection, and so they were trying to set up an investigation. But remember, they were all going to be gone, so that didn't make much sense. And then you begin to look at when the big, intense questioning occurred, and it happened in the middle of December. And I guess it comes down to this question. What would be the most audacious, but also perhaps the most logical reason for a massive effort to get information on that campaign prior to the inauguration? And my concern or my fear or my question is, does it really relate back to the idea that they were trying in some way to put together a legal document that they would go to a federal judge with and try to stop the inauguration? There is corroborating evidence in other events from the last couple of weeks and in other documents that suggests something like that was afoot. And I think you have to take a deep breath. You really have to sit back and ask yourself, why is it that Obama, this is one of the things that happened last week, why is it that he's out there, really has nothing to speak about, but he's making noise out there and attacking this administration so vigorously right now? Why are they attacking Attorney General Barr, who is sort of the Perry Mason of our era? Why are they going after all of these people in a rush right now? And I think it is because there is a house of cards coming down, whether it will come down through indictments or whether it'll come down through continued release of material. Even here in the last hours, we have now gotten the second half of a memo that was written by the then National Security Advisor Rice to herself, saying, in effect, I'm following the book, or the president is following the book. Well, one of the reasons you'd write a memo to yourself is to stick it somewhere in a file where it would later get released to cover up something you might have been doing. And again, I don't have the answer. I'm just saying all of these factors vector, and you can go to amac.us and look up the article and look at the in-depth timeline in that piece. But the question that really arises is, what was going on behind the curtain? Were they trying, which would be an audacious act with significant legal implications, not to mention constitutional implications, were they trying to slow down or stop the inauguration of a president?
Robert, I want to give this list of names, and I want our listeners to hear this list of names and figure out all of that they have, what they have in common. Samantha Power, former Obama White House officials, Samantha Palmer, James Clapper, John Brenner, Jacob Law, Sarah Ruskin, Denise McDonald, James Comey, and Joe Biden. So when you go down this list of names, and if you want to think of, well, just coincidence or whatever, but I almost in my mind, Robert, see a circle of these people. And who are they? What do they have in common? Who are they encamping with but one Barack Obama?
So you ask a very, very important question, and I think it has more significance than you even know. The names that you just gave, ranging from John Brennan, who was a former White House staffer who ended up heading up the CIA for Obama, people like his head of his representative to the United Nations, two chiefs of staff, incidentally. Dennis McDonough was also on that list. They all are linked to the Obama White House, and they are all political appointees. Now, why is that?
I don't believe in mere coincidence that just in this very short period of time, and you had the dates here. Again, let me look up.
November 8th. Yeah, that's right. November 8th.
November 8th to January 12th, a relatively small window of time that 39 high-ranking Obama officials urgently sought this unmasking, the violation of our Constitution. Is this unprecedented?
So I think the thing that is unprecedented about it, unmaskings occur pursuant to legal procedures where a request is put in typically by an intelligence official or by a kind of a mid-range Justice Department official or someone who is trying to get at an international actor. That's why this exists, this process. To see political actors at that level, and you actually can add Joe Biden to the list because he put in his own private request to unmask on January 12th. These are really, it's an extraordinary turn. I don't know of any situation in the history of the country where we've allowed Fourth Amendment violations of that kind by political actors seeking information on their rivals who were coming into the White House. And I don't have the answer to the question. I can only pose it. But I think that there are significant underlying issues that relate to having political actors unmasking the private phone calls of their opponents just before an inauguration.
Well, this is very troubling. And then you talk about William Barr, who I have a great deal of respect for, and it seems like you do also, who come out yesterday and say don't expect investigations or indictments of Barack Obama or Joe Biden.
I guess my thinking about that is that from what I know of William Barr, as well as the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, Mr. Durham, as well as two or three other U.S. attorneys that are working on broad issues related to this overall question of the origins of this Russia probe, my feeling is that they are all extremely professional. And as a result, that means that they really have no political dog in the fight. They are professionals. And so what they're doing is they're going to follow wherever the facts and the law lead them. My suspicion is that it is leading to senior political actors in the Obama administration. How high that goes, that's not something I have any access to. But I will tell you that I think that they would not steer away from a political actor if they felt that the law led them there and the facts led them there. I think maybe what he's saying is there is nothing right now that points us to that kind of an outcome for those two individuals. But it is peculiar to me. I mean, To have a Vice President, Biden, on January 12th, 8 days before an inauguration, frantically looking for information on his opponents, that's odd.
Robert, you know, the frustrating part about my job is the clock and hard breaks. I wanted to go over the other 2 points. We're just not going to have time, but we really would like to have you back on the Conservative Commandos radio show to maybe go over these final 2 points at another time. But this is a terrific article. And the great thing about doing this job is I learned so much from my guests like yourself. I want to thank you for joining us today. Please tell our audience how they could read this entire article and also
Absolutely.
to follow your work.
I encourage everybody, and I really mean it, if you're a conservative and you're over the age of 50 or you're close, go Google AMAC or amac.us and go say, hey, I really want, for minimal dollars, you get extraordinary cutting edge news. You get a magazine that actually is better, frankly, than Time Magazine or Newsweek. And you can go on and read articles like this on amac.us, their website. You get the discounts that all the other groups gives, but it's really, to me, it's an extraordinary extension of Ronald Reagan's principles, of George Herbert Walker Bush's, of those that our founders would have believed in. They fight every day for our constitutional rights and for the traditions that made America great. And I just thank you all. You guys have done, and you do every day, the work of making the First Amendment real. And I appreciate it greatly.
Well, I appreciate guests like yourself. Our guests are my teachers. I become their student. I learn so much from them and from people like you. And again, I want to thank you so much for joining us here in a Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care and God bless. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be talking about economic shutdown jeopardizes the health of all Americans. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for a rebroadcast of our show, maybe you'd like to share it with a friend, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our TV show there, our radio show there, and a lot of other terrific articles and great information. And with that, Nasir, our next guest is with us, and the honor of that introduction is all yours.
Thank you, Rick. It'd be a pleasure. We have Dr. David Samadi, who is the Director of the Men's Health and Urologic Oncology at St. Francis Hospital in Long Island. He's a highly renowned and successful board-certified urological oncologist expert and robotic surgeon in New York City. He's regarded as one of the leading prostate surgeons in the United States, trained in oncology, open, laparoscopic, and robotic surgery, vast experience in prostate cancer treatment, as well as with robotic-assisted laparoscopic prostatectomy. He's also been featured on Fox News, on all the major channels out there. Dr. David Samadi, we welcome you to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for that kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. We want to talk to you about an article that you wrote here. I believe it was you submitted to Newsmax. The economic shutdown jeopardizes the health of all Americans. So as we do when we bring on many people in the health profession and ask them for their opinion as to what's going on and what we can expect as we move forward, a second wave, all these things. Give us your expertise, your expert ideas as to what you feel has been going on with this coronavirus, what we call the Wuhan virus, and where do you think we go from here?
Well, I think it's a good time to look back because we're in May right now. And if you ask me when this virus probably started to really spread, I would say it wasn't February or January. It's probably started sometime in October. And that's one of the reasons why I'm one of the believers that millions of Americans have been exposed to this and they don't even know it. Whether you thought it was a winter flu or you thought it was like a couple of days of fever or body ache, that was probably your corona moment that you were not aware of. Now, we haven't done 320 million antibody tests, and probably it won't happen because it's not going to change the plan of how we're going to go about this. But it came to our attention sometime in January. Whether this was made in the lab as some form of bioengineer virus or what the story behind this, the history will speak about this and we'll find out the truth hopefully soon. But I think at the time when President Trump decided to put a travel ban, he realized that millions of people are going to be affected by this. And that was a very, very smart move. Now, I think that you should look at this virus as multiple phases. Phase one, here comes the enemy. another 9/11. We think that there would be some attack of planes going to the buildings. We don't know which building. We don't know what kind of planes. We don't know which country the terrorist is coming. And this is exactly the information that we got or didn't get enough information from China. There's going to be some virus that is coming only from the bat, not much of human to human transmission, and probably it's not a big deal. Well, none of the information that we got or the numbers would turn out to be correct. There was a very contagious human to human. So the first phase of this was, let's shut down, let's hide, and make sure we find out who is this invisible enemy. Over the course of the last 3-4 months, we are finding out exactly who the enemy is. We know the source. We are finding out what this virus is. The most important thing is that we know exactly which virus is going after. It's not going to go after a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, because if you look at the number of deaths below 60, it's practically extremely low, almost close to zero. It's going after our nursing home. It's going after elderly. Over 50% of death in America, it's all in our nursing home. It's going after people who are diabetic, obese, high blood pressure, and you know all of that information better than I do. So now we're entering the second phase of, okay, we all went with the respect to the government and with respect to Dr. Fauci and infectious disease. We completed the first phase, and Americans respected and they followed because they were talking about numbers of 2 million deaths, 1 million deaths. I remember 240,000. And when they came and they said, this week is going to be our 9/11, it's going to be our Pearl Harbor. And I even look at my family and myself, it's like, oh my God. I mean, the number of body bags that's going to be in the street. Well, fortunately, all of those models turn out to be completely wrong. And all of them turn out not to be real. And we are very happy and fortunate about this. Now we're entering phase 2. Where do we go from this? Phase 2 has a lot not to do with the virus, but it has to do with our future, our psyche, our children, our economy, our healthcare system, our communication, our way of life, going to a restaurant, hugs, kisses. Is that possible? And there is a group of people that talking about the new norm. What is the new norm? You're going to take off your shoes for the rest of your life every time you want to travel. You're going to be putting your bags through like 10 security. You cannot have a bottle of water when you travel. That became our new norm. What is the new norm going to be for this? And I'm convinced that we cannot let this kind of stuff change and take over our entire life. And we cannot let the paranoia and the psyche and the panic of these pandemics get ahead of us. Knowledge, science, and even today, more important, common sense prevails to look at the facts. What are the facts? We're seeing that, last month we lost about $50 billion of healthcare industry because doctors are not working. There's no elective surgeries. The hospital are losing their money, their pants on this, and it can bring the hospitals to their knees. We laid off about 134,000 healthcare workers. These are PAs, nurses, doctors, and we've never used to see this. You can see recession, any kind of economic recession will never affect the hospital or doctors, but pandemic can, and this is what we learned. I don't have to tell you about the unemployment. I don't have to tell you about the anxiety and psych phones that are ringing off the wall because people are committing suicide. So in this phase, we really need to take care of our people, find out what common sense, put in guidelines that are safe and secure, and get our economy open, get our people out there, and make sure we get back to our normal life.
Well, you just put that so absolutely, concisely right there. Just absolutely, drilled it down to what it is. Sir, I want to ask you that this was one of the things that really ticked me off. And you know what? A lot of my friends, and even when I was having discussions within my family, they were saying, oh, come on, the experts are out there. How do you know? Okay, you're not an epidemiologist, you're not an immunologist. You're not in that branch. And I was like going, the types of numbers that they, remember when Ebola came out? What did we hear from the United Nations? That they were going to affect it was going to be in the millions of people,
Correct.
Not just in Africa, but this was going to spread around the world. It was going to be unbelievable death and devastation. And it never even came close to that. They, just like you were talking about, they came out there, and you talk about the Imperial College of London. This wasn't even a United States, based. It was coming from overseas across the pond. They said based on that, if 50% of the population got affected, you were looking at 2.2 million people dying. And then they said, you know what? That was based on that. And then they went from 2.2 to 220,000. From 220,000, it went down even further. And those are the numbers that everything was predicated upon. And I want to go and ask you your opinion on this. You know what? Mayor Comrade de Blasio and Cuomo, these people have blood on their hands, okay? The red apple is aptly named right now because that blood of those 6,000 or 7,000 seniors in those living centers, in those senior citizen centers, they're dead because of the stupidity, the asininity, and the absolute, just a complete, these guys, okay, literally, okay, condemn these people to death. When you have Governor DeSantis down in Florida did completely the opposite. Can you tell us what happened to those senior citizens and why 7,000 of them or plus had to die because of the stupidity of these administrative officials?
Well, your point is well taken. And I think that if you look at, for example, Georgia, you look at, for example, Florida, and then compare this with, for example, with the way of thinking of the mayor of Los Angeles and even the mayor in New York and the governor. It's a totally different mindset. We had the comfort ship with about 1,000 beds available. We had 3,000 beds in Javits Center. Our hospitals basically doubled the volume of number of beds that they had. And, it still puzzles me as to why we decided to mix, the positive COVID patients that are elderly. And we know this is the biggest risk group that this virus is coming after, why we mixed them up and we contaminated that whole neighborhood, whereas we could have easily taken them out. I would love for you to go back and find the video and interview that I did on Fox News. And it was with Judge Janine, and it was also on the Sunday House call. The only doctor in the media that was like raising his hand and was saying, we need travel ban, President Obama, and we need it now. And of course, I got so many emails saying like, how can you do this? This is like against like being American, etc. I got so many hate emails, but it's true. You isolate, you contain, you take like the positive infections away from the negative infection. That's how you control this. And it was not a smart move to really put all these patients back to nursing home, and unfortunately caused so much chaos. Now, if you look at the number of deaths and number of contaminated patients across the country, New York and New Jersey are responsible for about 40%, almost 50% of the entire volume. And if we had a good control of this, imagine like these numbers, instead of 80 or 90,000 or whatever the number is, would be much, much less. So I think we could have done a much better job. The PowerPoint presentations are excellent. There's a lot of presentations every day. There's a lot of back and forth. But I think on the ground, dealing with this disease, like our 9/11 zero ground, this was the hot centers, and we should have fought harder for these elderly and protected them much better.
You're right, Doctor. They're telling me we've got to go to a hard break here, but we'd like to hold you on for another segment. Would you do so?
Of course, it would be my pleasure.
Well, we're here speaking with Dr. David Samadi, who's the Director of the Men's Health and Urologic Oncology at St. Francis Hospital in Long Island. And we're going to hold him for another segment, but we've got to take care of a break. We've got our sponsors coming up, but we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, and AM/FM 24/7, and also can now be seen on the AUN TV network in California. Well, we're going to go to a break, but please, folks, stick around as we come back with Dr. David Samadi on the other side.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and also seen on the AUN television network in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, Santa Rosa, Silicon Valley, Wine Country, all the way up to Redding. Our guest this segment is Dr. David Samadi. He's the Director of Men's Health and Urologic Oncology at St. Francis Hospital in Long Island. Doctor, thank you for holding through that break. We do appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Doctor, I wanted to bring up something that's in the news. A lot of the media is criticizing Donald Trump, who has taken hydroxychloroquine, saying that, well, we don't know that this stuff is working. This might cause him to have a heart attack. And I just wanted to get your take on that.
Well, we just wrote a very effective article, and I encourage everyone to go to newsmax.com, and my article is there, and it tells you like why I think Donald Trump's taking hydroxychloroquine is justified. You need to understand that you're talking to one of the most powerful men in the world, and the job of his doctor and the team of doctors around him is to protect him. So a couple of things has happened. Number one, we know that his best friend, Boris Johnson, got infected, and he went almost inches away from being on ventilator. This was like really close to it. You could see on Donald Trump's face the sorrow, the prayers, and the best wishes that he had, and you could see that he's very concerned about him. I think the biggest emotional impact on President Trump was when he lost his best friend, the big real estate mogul, Stanley Chera. And this was very unexpected. He goes to the hospital, he's talking to Donald Trump. He says, I'm fine. The next thing you know, he's in coma and he's gone. This was a big impact. And you could see in his face when you saw the US Task Force interviews. Now, what has happened also, about 2 weeks ago, a couple of staffers came up with positive COVID. And that's one of the reasons why you saw Dr. Fauci unmasked, you saw Steve Hahn went to self-quarantine, and the same thing with the vice president. This is coming too close to the comfort zone, even though everybody gets tested to go to the White House, but every protection needs to be made to save this man and make sure that if there's any 1% chance that he will get this disease, we need to prevent it becoming a problem. In every decision a doctor and a patient make, they need to look at the risk and benefit. His doctors are talking, you don't have any cardiac condition, your cholesterol is a little bit high, you may be slightly obese, but overall you don't have any major issues, you don't have any emphysema, you are not diabetic. On the other hand, given all this like data that's out there, possibility of benefit from hydroxychloroquine, reducing inflammation in case you get this virus, Mr. President, we think that the benefit is higher than the risk, and we recommend you to take this. Given the fact that, Mr. President, this medication has been around for 60 days. Nobody knows about this medication better than Donald Trump. It's been used for lupus, it's been used for arthritis, it's used for autoimmune disease. And what we're finding out is when the virus comes in your system, it can create a pseudo autoimmune disease, meaning that it jumpstarts your cytokines, your inflammatory cells, and that storm can take over your body, can affect your kidneys, your lungs, your heart, and multi-organ failure and death. We don't want that to happen as a way of prevention. And there's a lot of study that talks about prophylaxis and the healthcare workers and volunteers at Henry Ford, about 3,000 of them in a clinical trial, that's starting to show some benefit. And I think the biggest mistake is for the mainstream media or anybody to turn this medication into a political football. There's no reason for it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. If he could cure Americans with taking M&M, with chicken soup, he would recommend chicken soup. There's no bias over here, and I don't know why they're all getting crazy over this hydroxychloroquine. By the way, alone, it may not work. For people who become advanced and there's a viral shedding, and that's when remdesivir or some other antiviral can come in. So the combination of one of those antiviral plus hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and Z-Pak seems to be the best one. And I think he decided to take it to prevent it from getting any worse. We don't even know if he has it. And that's why there's no reason to panic. But that's a decision between him and his doctors, and the government should not come in between that relationship.
Doctor, I'm nearly 70 years old. I'm in pretty good health. I have high cholesterol, but I don't have any other medical problems. Should I be taking, or people like me or my age, should we be taking it?
No, I don't think like people randomly should go out there and start taking it, even if this message from the president may increase more questioning of people from the doctors, just like yourself that you're asking. I don't think people should rush and start taking medications on their own. Just like you don't take antibiotic on your own, you're not going to take this medication. Depending on your exposure, depending on who you could have come across with, depending on your risk stratification. You know, when I'm in the field of prostate cancer, there are some prostate cancers that we operate. There are some prostate cancer that we watch. Some prostate cancer, we may not do surgery or do surgery quickly. All of that has to do with your risk stratification, who you are, and what I'm going to recommend you may not recommend the next guy and the guy after. So I love medicine because the art of medicine is to individualize the care of for that person. One size fits all is not going to work. What's good for the president may not be good for me, or vice versa. So I think we just have to have a very intelligent discussion, not use 1 or 2 cases of anecdotal heart disease or somebody who maybe have died from this and say, oh, you know, this is not good. At the same time, you cannot take like 3 cases of children with Kawasaki and say, we're not going to open up the school or we're not going to open up our colleges. we need to use common sense and science and really put in effort into this and not really go for attack. The American people are suffering. Their economy is in jeopardy. People are losing their life savings. And his whole intention is to fight for this country and save as many lives. And if this is going to be helping people, I'm all for it. But you need to be talking to your doctor and find out if this is the right thing for you or not.
Dr. David Samadi, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. We went a little astray from your article, but I think this was great information that we got out to our audience. Doctor, please tell our audience how they could read your articles and follow your work and possibly make contact with you.
Well, they can always join our Twitter account, Dr. David Samadi, and certainly if anyone wants to call me to get more information about any of this, they can call us at 212-365-5000. And if you have any prostate or prostate cancer issues, you can always call our office or go to prostatecancer911.com. We're here to help, and the whole idea is to really help another American life. And I'm very grateful to be part of this conversation with you guys.
Doctor, and your articles are posted on Newsmax?
Yes, I'm a Newsmax contributor, and we just posted a very strong article about hydroxychloroquine and also how this virus has affected our economy and how we need to reopen America soon.
Amen to that. Dr. David Samadi, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. Stay healthy out there, my friend.
Thank you very much. Be well.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, Rick Trader. Nasir and I will be back with more right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, Nasir, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host, and please tell our audience how they could follow you and what you're up to when you're not here on Conservative Commandos.
Thank you, Rick. Well, they can follow me at the website, which is www.drnasirShaikh.com. So it's drnasirshaikh.com. Twitter at Nasir Shaikh Show. That's at Nasir Shaikh Show. Or they can follow me and like me and share us on Facebook, which is The Nasir Shaikh Show. That's The Nasir Shaikh Show. And I also want to thank our guests that we had here, Rick. Our first guest was returning guest of ours, Paul Driessen, Senior Policy Advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. And Paul was talking to us about the real climate science deniers. Next, we had Robert Charles. He's a spokesperson for the Association for a Mature American Citizens. And he was also the a former Assistant Secretary of State during, I believe, the Bush 41 White House. And he's going to be talking to us about his article, which was in terms of with China fleeces the poor, and it is absolutely a time for accountability. He also went into some aspects of his second article, which basically talking about what was happening during the Obama White House in terms of just before the inauguration of President Trump. Truly, truly great stuff. You've got to read the article, go to the links and see for yourself, folks, okay? Amazing information out there. And then finally, we had Dr. David Samadi. He was here for the first time. He's the director of the Men's Health and Urological Oncology at St. Francis Hospital in Long Island. And Dr. Samadi was basically giving us an overview on what's happening with the coronavirus, what steps should have been taken, what steps need to be taken right now, and then also went into a little bit about how President Trump is now being prescribed by his healthcare doctors to take hydroxychloroquine along with zinc. So once again, three great guests that we had here, Rick, as always.
All right. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.